I'm Katie. I'm the Redbud Program Manager here at Colorado River Alliance, and I'm here to talk to you today about watersheds. Watersheds are very important because they drain rain and water into one central location. That could be a creek, a stream, or a river, like our Texas-Colorado River, which, if you didn't know, is where we get 100% of our drinking water here in Austin. So, to visualize what a watershed looks like, put your hands together like this. Imagine that rain was falling into your hands. Where would it go? Well, if a drop landed on your thumb here, it would move through all of the creases and lines in your hands and eventually start to collect at the very bottom near your pinkies. That's kind of how a watershed works, because gravity is pulling water all throughout the land into one location, like a body of water. And guess what? Anywhere that you are on Earth, you're always in a watershed, whether you're at your house, school, or somewhere else that you like to hang out. If you want to find out what watershed you live in, you can go to atxwatersheds.com, type in your address, and you can learn all about the watershed that you live in. Here in Austin, we have 53 different watersheds. So I have my map here of all of these different watersheds in Austin. Right now, we are located in the Town Lake watershed, which is Lady Bird Lake. As we all know, Lady Bird Lake used to be called Town Lake, and that's where we're at. So watersheds are named after the body of water that they flow into. So all of these 53 different watersheds in Austin are named after the 53 different creeks that we have in the city. So if you live in the Walnut watershed, that means if it rains anywhere in this area, that water will find its way to Walnut Creek. But you can be in more than one watershed at the same time, because all of these different smaller watersheds will eventually drain into the Colorado River. So because they're all part of the Colorado River watershed, we're in two watersheds at the same time. So that's kind of cool. Now, why does this matter? Why do we need to know about watersheds? Well, watersheds are important because they tell us that anything that happens on the land is going to affect the water. Think about if you throw a piece of trash on the ground. Well, right now it's just on the land, but what happens after it rains or after water comes through that area? That small piece of trash could make its way through several watersheds, all the way into the Colorado River watershed, and eventually maybe all the way out to the ocean. So, we are going to zoom in a little bit on one of these watersheds and talk about the different features. So now we're going to zoom in on one of those watersheds to see the different features that actually allows water to move throughout the watershed. So we wouldn't have any water in the watershed without precipitation. Precipitation can come in the form of rain, snow, sleet, or hail, and once that water falls to the ground, it becomes part of the watershed. It can either form a body of water like the Texas-Colorado River, or it can go infiltrate into our groundwater down here, because groundwater is part of the watershed too. We also have watershed divides. A watershed divide is just where two watersheds meet. So if it were to rain right here, some water would go into one watershed and some would fall into the one right next to it. The river mouth is actually where the river ends, and our Colorado River ends in Matagorda Bay in the Gulf of Mexico. And we also have ridges. So ridges, again, when we were talking about our hands being a watershed, the ridges would be where our thumbs are. It would just be those highest points that drains water down. So this is all of the parts of a watershed and the different places that water can go.